Hello. Meet with Sir Nitin Shastree. He is actually studying out different wars in India, and we are going to discuss about predominantly India-China war that was there in 1962. Sir, very basic question for you, that why there was war between China and India. In spite of that, they were saying that Hindi Chini bhai bhai, and then also they started out war. What is the reason behind that?
It's almost 50 years now when the 1962 India-China war happened. Although India and China, they have long relations, almost from the time of ancient times. You must be remembering the Chinese scholars Faiyan and Yuan coming down to India to study Buddhism and then going back to China with the new knowledge. We had such a long relationship with China. But during modern times, both the countries fought a fearsome war. Basically, this war is between two ideologies. India got freedom in 1947. China took communist path in 1949. From 1949 onwards, India and China regime, India's regime under Pandit Nehru's leadership and China under Mao Zedong and Chau-en was trying to come together and shake hands. And they did shake hands, and the world saw a new friendship. That was Hindi Chini Bhai Bhai, as you mentioned. But that didn't lasted long because that friendship was not on a strong foundation. China always wanted Tibet under their control, and so in 1954 we signed an accord which is known as Panchashila Accord. India gave away all their rights which they had, which the British Indian government had given to them. They gave away all their rights to China, and that Tibet was acceded as the Chinese territory. Dalai Lama, who at that time was telling India that Tibet was never a part of India, we practically forced him to accept that deal. And that deal went on for another 5 years when Dalai Lama had to escape from Lhasa and come down to Arunachal Pradesh and then settle at Dharamshala. We have to give him a political refuge. And since 1959 he is staying in India. China never liked that act of India, and they wanted to take certain actions against it. In fact, even after taking Tibet into their control, under their control, they wanted to further expand their wings, and so they did so in 1962, and war started only after India opposed their coming forward and declaring that particular land is their land. India opposed their tactics. India took the decision of sending their army into the forward areas, and that war started. It lasted for almost about a month. China took large portion of Indian territory of NEFA, what it was called as North Eastern Frontier Agency, Today it is known as Seven Sisters, particularly the portion of Arunachal. They had come right up to Bomdila, Tawang was under their control. But finally they withdrew from there, declaring the ceasefire on 21st November 1962.
Sir, one more question is there, because in many books of history, particularly in school books, it is not clear that what about the status of Tibet? Means before 1949, what was the status of Tibet? Was it independent nation? Because we have read that only it was considered as buffer state between India and China.
That's true. It was a buffer state. According to the Tibetan history, it was never a part of China. China many times in 14th century, 15th century, 17th century tried to invade Tibet, but the locals from Tibet, particularly the Khenpa, they opposed under the leadership of the then Dalai Lamas, and when the British took over control of Tibet, they kept Tibet totally aloof from the Chinese activity. And in fact, let me tell you about the treaties what British India had done. In 1921, the British India signed a treaty with Tibet. And for that treaty, China was third party. They forced China to accept the borders between Tibet and China and between India and Tibet. In fact, what we call McMahon line,
Yes.
that was drawn in 1921, and China had accepted that treaty till 1954, and 54 onwards China started complaining about the authenticity of that treaty, because by that time they had taken Tibet under their control. India had complete rights in Tibet. We had the right to run railway. We had a right to run post and telegraph. Our commissioner was based in Lhasa, and Dalai Lama was supposed to consult him in the external affairs and during the defense of Tibet.
Okay.
Those were practically our rights. You can very well say that Tibet during that particular period was under our control.
Okay. Then when exactly we lost out the control over Tibet? That means, as you are saying that according to Panchashil Act, it was there. But why we signed that Panchashil Act? If we are losing out something, then what is the reason? Who is actually, we can say that criminal, one can use word, because by losing our nation's territory, that should be also called as that.
Well, as I said, that the conflict between India and India and China, rather India and China conflicts are conflicts of two ideologies. See, look at the independent India, which emerged under the leadership of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. He is sentimental. He had his own ideas. He has come out, he has born in India but studied in European culture, where he has seen the democratic ideas, where he has seen the social idealism. And in fact, that neo-socialism, that's what he wanted to bring here in India. Whereas, as against that, look at Mao Zedong and Chau-en. They had to fight very hard, undertook 12 years long march to dethrone Sun Yat-sen and declare the Chinese Republic, the People's Republic of China. And so, when they said that revolution comes only from the barrel of a rifle. That is the famous saying of Mao Zedong. Whereas Nehru never believed in armed forces conflict. He always believed in democratic ideas. So the China and India conflict, modern conflict is between two ideas. The Mao Zedong and Chau-en probably had well planned that act of war in way back in 1949 or 50. Whereas Pandit Nehru never thought of that. He always looked at China as their good friend, as their new friend. In fact, in Afro-Asiai conference which took place at Badum, when China had just, the new regime had just come up, that time Pandit Nehru took the initiative and introduced the whole audience that who is Chau-en. And so, we were not at all prepared. As you said, it's a crime. Yes, because we forgot the famous principle of politics which was written by Chanakya, Arya Chanakya, that in politics nobody is permanent friend and nobody is enemy forever. We forgot that and we paid the price of the same in the years to come, and probably we are still paying that price because China is still claiming certain Indian territory as their own territory, trying to invade that territory, come there, and our government has to take action under force. When the Indians raise their voices either on roads or in House of Parliament, the government is taking their actions. In fact, I think these things happened just because we neglected the basic principles of politics. We were underprepared or we were not at all prepared. In fact, I would say we were not at all prepared for the war.
Before actually discussion of war, I should like to ask one more question over here. That what was, now you have just answered, but still there was border between India and China. Something was border. And at that time, what was the situation of that border before war? That means whether there were a post or some compound like India and Pakistan is having, like that compound was set out, or there was nothing force and nothing was there, only thing on nature only.
No, the McMahon line was drawn only on paper because the terrain is so difficult to travel. Most of the terrain is above 13,000 feet. There are long passes, there are high ridges where always there is a danger of avalanche, the natural calamities, so the line is drawn only on paper. It is not possible to guard the entire boundary of 3,600 kilometers. So the main passes were always close to the pass. See, there is a pass called Sela Pass, there is a pass called Nathula Pass, there is a pass near Wolong, there is a pass near Dirang, there is a pass near Daulabeg Uldi. All these were guarded by our forces, not army. Let me tell you, not army. During that time, it was Indo-Tibetan Border Force which was controlled by Home Ministry and not by the Defense Ministry.
Okay. That means our army was not present here.
Our army was not at initial stages when the Chinese came over there claiming that this is their territory. It was not our army, but it was our paramilitary force called Indo-Tibetan border force was there, and later on we deployed army into that area. And this, when we deployed the army and took the forward policy, saying that we can go as far as possible, put their post and declare that this is our land. That was called as a forward policy.
Okay, now we are going close to the war. So, sir, can you show the areas here? This is rough map. This is not according to scale or not actual map. Just to get idea that where exactly the war was there and what is the which are the territories actually occupied by China.
But in 1947, Pakistan took over some part of Kashmir. Today we call it as POK. Between 1947 to 1962, China and Pakistan had entered into some agreements, and the area which you have marked over here, some portion of that Pakistan gave it to China. That is in Aksai Chin, what we call as. There they gave that portion to China. This is what you can say that western border of Indo-China, western side of Indo-China border. Then you can come down. This is Aksai Chin. The places over here, you could say Chushul or Razhangla are the main places in this particular field. In this, today we have an airstrip which is the highest altitude airstrip where an army plane can land. That was not the situation in 1962. That our soldiers had to go as many as about 30 kilometers on foot because there were no roads.
Okay. Sir, I would like to ask you a question that apart from this Aksai Chin area, what is or which are the other places where actually the war was concentrated?
The Chinese invaded the complete border area of 3,600 kilometers, which are adjoining to our borders. But the main force came in this, and here they came from all the sides. But they concentrated mainly on Nefa. At Razhangla, the Indian army fought very bravely. The battles of Razhangla and Chushul are the glorious pages of Indian army. The same thing in somewhat happened in Nefa, but in Nefa we were practically caught unaware, unprepared. And so we had to retreat up to Tezpur. And the Chinese came to, they captured Tawang, they captured Bomdila, and they were almost close to Tezpur, and that time they declared the ceasefire, and eventually they went back.
As you are telling that here we fought bravely, but here we are not able to fought that because we were under-prepared or say not prepared. But what is the exact reason that they immediately take a decision that ceasefire should be there and they withdraw their army?
There are various decisions why Chinese, when they were coming forward, why they stopped the war. The main reason is that their supply line was quite stretched, and probably they feared that Indians are allowing us to come inside, and at Tezpur they might siege us over there, and so they declared a ceasefire. Secondly, probably again, they had succeeded in their aims. They had limited aims. They wanted to show their supremacy to the world. They wanted to show that India is not the very big nation and to be looked for and to be guidance to be taken from India. We are supreme than India, and that's what they wanted to show, and so they went back.
Okay, one more question from Indian politics now here. That who was Defence Minister of India during this particular war?
Dr. V.K.K. Krishna was the defense minister during this particular period. A very dynamic personality, but unfortunately 1962 is a clot on his career, and so he was removed from the ministership immediately when the war was on, and Y.C.Chavan took over as the defense minister on 20th November 1962.
During war only?
During war only.
And can I ask you another question? That with fear of this new defense minister, because actually what happened that enemy is always studying out particular personality. Maybe possible this personality was not studied from their side. So is there anything that with this new defense minister, they decided, okay, we want to take back, like that?
I don't think so, but anyway, the Y.C.Chavan's entry as a defense minister was a good sign, and in fact, Y.C.Chavan later on remained as a defense minister for quite a long time. During 1965 war, he was defense minister. When we took over on Pakistan, at Kashmir side we won Hajipir, at Lahore side we went right up to suburbs of Lahore, and that was all under the leadership of Y.C.Chavan, who had just stepped into central ministry on the verge of 1962 Indo-China war.
Okay, but is there any consequence that we can say that with entry of Y.C.Chavan, may be possible some positive approach, positive sign from Indian side, and from Chinese side fear must have arose and then they took back like that? No. Okay. Then one more question about this. That can you tell the important names, the sacrifice carried out by our soldiers and the bravely fought, the soldiers who bravely fought this? Can you tell some important names over here?
Yes, the 1962 war produced some war heroes. Unfortunately, their names are not known to general public. The Battle of Razangla should be taught in every school, should be known to every Indian. It is that battle. It was this particular battle which was fought under the leadership of Major Shaitan Singh. He belongs from the C Company of Kumaon Regiment. It was at that particular spot, Razangla, which is on a height of about 16,000 feet. He was asked to guard that post when his battalion was retreating. When they were attacked, they were just 100 people, 115 people, and they were attacked by about 1,500, complete battalion, Chinese battalion attacked on them. And the first attack was beaten back. The second attack, third attack, fourth attack, fifth attack, 5 attacks, they defended themselves, but with every attack, unfortunately, their men were getting injured and dying. Out of 115, only 3 survived to tell the story of their great sacrifice and the valor. After 6 months, when the ice melted and our Jawans went on top, what they saw at Chushul and Rasangla was bodies, bodies, bodies and bodies everywhere. Dharampal Singh Dahiya, the medical orderly who had a morphine syringe in his hand and some bullet had come, a mortar had come and hit him. That is the sacrifice what our soldiers gave at every step of Himalaya. There is a battle at Sela Pass, which was fought by 6 Rajputana rifles. Mahavir Singh Rikhi was their company commander. And when he saw that the complete ammunition is exhausted, instead of retreating from the battlefield, he told his men that, well, you have shown the enemies how Rajput fights. Let's show the enemy how Rajput dies. And saying that, they put bayonets on their rifles and jumped on the enemy. They killed 600 Chinese at Sela Pass. They were just about 90 people. No one survived. The battle at Dirang or Jaswantgarh, which is today a tourist spot. There is a memorial at Jaswantgarh, which is close to Bomdila in Arunachal Pradesh, where Joginder Singh fought a brave battle, and it is said, the myths according to the local people say that he was only one soldier which fought against complete battalion and gave away his life for. And I think we should not and we should never forget such supreme sacrifices which our soldiers have given to protect our motherland.
Very nice, sir. One more question. I'm not sure whether it is related with this topic or not, because we have very few knowledge about this. One personality in India, that is a movie is there, that is Dr. Potnis ki Amar Kahani. So is Dr. Potnis is connected with this war or something?
No, Dr. Kotnis is connected with the China's liberation. It was Congress party who arranged a team of 5 doctors to go and help the Chinese liberation movement against Kuomintang regime, and that is why Dr. Kotnis, Dr. Banerjee, Dr. Basu and 2 others went to China. That was in 1924.
Okay. And after helping China this way, what are the fruits of that help that we are now observing? Sir, can you tell that after 1962, with minor exceptions, China was not able to advance in India? That is because of now we are having strong army, or we are also well prepared in that area, like that. Can you tell?
Yes, certainly. We should not be worried about China anymore. 1962 is 50 years back. Today, we have a strong force of almost about 13 lakh soldiers. Our standing army is more than 13 lakh soldiers. Our reserves are 11 lakh soldiers. Our paramilitary forces are again 13 lakhs. We have in total army, we have 13 corps, around 32 divisions. We have strong army today, and which is completely trained. We should, let me tell you, today we have certain schools of army which gives advanced training to the students or to the Cynics of America, Germany and Japan. We give them training about mountain battle fighting or high altitude fighting. It is we who give them training how to fight the wars at mountains. So we should not worry about what if China will attack us. Let China dare to attack us this time. The Indian soldiers will teach them a lesson which they will not forget for years and ages to come.
Sir, with this knowledge, can you predict that what we have carried out with Pakistan, that is simply we separated out eastern Pakistan from them. So is it possible for our army to separate out Tibet from China in the recent 10 or 15 years? Or if you compare growth of both the nations, whether it is possible in recent?
Although China occupied Tibet in 1952, the Tibetans have never accepted Chinese supremacy. Every year there are unrest at Lhasa and other part of China. So that will always remain there. I'll not be able to predict about what Indian army will do, but let me say something about what will happen in Indo-China competition. I would put it that from today onwards till next 10 years are very important as far as growth is concerned of India in every field, be it education, be it research and development, or be it the business and economics. China is today way ahead of us. They have strong reserves of foreign exchange. Yes, agreed. But by 2020, I think that China would be in a stagnant position, and next 10 years time, India will forge ahead and surpass China in every field. That is what the experts from economists say. And that's what exactly I feel. I too feel that the China one day will follow the Russian pattern. Today, what happened to Russia after Cold War? That it is divided into 15 countries. Maybe China would be suppressed under heavy economic pressure because they are trying to threaten the entire world. They today even are threatening US. They are threatening India. They are threatening everyone, and probably one day they will collapse under this pressure and they will break into few more states. That's how I can see it.
I'm very thankful for you as you are giving you here information, but I would like that it is only you that you should conclude out this our session. So what you are going to say about conclusion?
The conclusion is that there is a famous saying of General Patton. He said, if you do not want to fight a war, then be prepared for it. We have actually done it. Every year the Indian Army and their scientists are preparing new weapons, new missiles. In next 5 years period, the Indian Navy will get 33 new frigates. The Indian Air Force too is getting new fighter aircrafts. We should not stop there, and that's when we will be avoiding the wars, because the entire world knows the strength. The 1965, 1971 and 1999 wars have shown very clearly the capabilities of Indian Army, Indian Navy and Indian Air Force. And so I think the normal Indian public should remember that and not the retreat of 1962.